All right, everybody, welcome to another week of 12 weeks of home ownership. I have my girl Querin here from Cure My Credit Scores, and I know on the path to home ownership, credit is a big thing. We can always improve it. So who is going to help us improve it? I know there's a lot of information on Google. There's a lot of information that you can, just research yourself. But let's get the goods of the goods from the person who can really help to make that change happen. So thank you, Querin, for coming and sharing this information with us about credit scores.
I am so happy you asked. I can talk about credit in my sleep. I'm so excited.
Good. So let's jump right into it. I have $100,000, and this isn't me personally, but let's just say I have $100,000 in student loan debt. Mm-hmm. I say it's Biden's problem, but it ain't all his problem. So how can that relief help me? How does that, was in forbearance because of COVID. Mm-hmm. Now, they want us to start paying it back. I don't really want to pay it back. So if I don't pay it back, is it going to hurt my credit? Or
It is. So what's going on a lot right now is people for the last 2 years have been in forbearance due to the government. Some people are in default. In deferment. You're in deferment because you were in school and you get to defer and not pay while you're in school. But the forbearance that the government provided, it kept extending, will end in December. And December 31st is supposed to be the last stretch. There is only at this current moment for this particular forgiveness, a $20,000 forgiveness if you have a Pell Grant and fit in a particular income bracket, and a $10,000 if you don't have a Pell Grant.
Okay.
And you have to fill out the application, which is out now. I checked it, it's live now. It had been coming October, but it's here now. So if you are in default with your loans, then this conversation does not pertain to you. So you just need to keep your stuff current. And if you are current and it was in forbearance, then you can benefit from the $20,000 if you have a Pell Grant and the $10,000 if you don't have a Pell Grant forgiveness.
So if I'm in default, can I come out of default and still get my $10,000 or $20,000 that Biden owed me?
Yes, you can. If it's still, you have to get out of default first. So let's say it takes you 6 to 9 months to get out of default.
Okay.
Normally you can apply for that and it might cost you $5 to $25 a month for 6 to 9 months. You're going to be proving to them that you can do that for 6 to 9 months,
okay.
Right? You come out of default. If the program's still available, then yes, you would qualify for it.
But if it's not available?
Then there are other forgiveness programs. There are other things going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is a good way? I want to be a homeowner. My credit isn't really where I want it to be. I have some things that I haven't paid that are in collections. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can I call them to see if they can take it out of collections? Should I just wait some years for it to come off? Or should I make an agreement with them to pay a portion of it? Should I call the original company to just pay the original company and not who is in collections with? What should I do? I hear so many things about what to do if you have something in collections.
Great question. What we care about most at Cure My Credit is what you're up to. Okay. So we're going to want to know what your goals are. So we're going to assume, because we're talking to a realtor, that the goal is to get a house. And so if the goal is to get a house, you need to address your collections with priority. Okay? Paying off collections does not necessarily get them off of your credit. So the great fast haul to go get collections off and say, yay, my credit score is going to go up 30, 40 points, that's not true. So the way we strategize it is that we pay attention to open credit first, which is 90% of your credit. It affects 90% of your credit. You're over the limit, your late payments, all of that, the diversity of your credit, 90%. Wow. So that's the first thing you want to deal with. And people run in and they go, I want to pay this off. You're going to take $3,000 to pay off your old Verizon bill or something when you owe $3,000 on a car. Now, if you have $6,000, do both.
Right.
But if you don't and you want a house, prioritize the open credit over the closed. So that's number one.
Okay.
And then, so let's pretend all of your open credit is at 10%. It's healthy. It's.
Oh, you said 10%.
I did.
So on the net, right, on the internet, they talk a lot about 50 to 30%. But you just said 10%.
I sure did.
So why'd you say 10%?
Because we're talking about purchasing a home and we're talking about improving credit. To just be walking around with reasonable credit, 30% ain't gonna hurt nobody. But if you're trying to improve your credit or get the most that you can out of your scores for a direct goal, you need to be between 1 and 10%.
So if my credit limit is 1,000.
Correct.
I only need to get a tank of gas a month and pay it off, basically, because that's $100 is 10%.
No, you need to get, so say it's $50 to fill up your tank. I don't know whose car is it.
Right,
but if it's
that's
$50 to pay up your tank, then you need $50 on that card is perfect, right between $10 and $100. Right. So I heard you say pay it off. You don't want to do that either.
Don't pay it off, okay.
If your credit is younger than a certain age.
Okay. So there's some nuances.
There is. So a lot of the things that are on the net are not inaccurate. They're not strategic, but there's more drilling down that you can do to be more beneficial for the purpose of doing something in the next 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
Right? If you just want regular schmegular, you just maintaining healthy credit and you do 30%, then fine. If you're already in the 700s and you do 30%, you're probably going to be okay. If your credit is 15, 20 years old and you're doing 30% or even 50 sometimes, you may be okay. But if you're rebuilding, you just started your credit is 3 years old, 3 months old, and you got one card and it's at 50%. You're not getting nobody's house no time soon.
So, I hear that I can, if my mom has a credit card, I can ask to be an authorized user on her card to increase my credit score. Is that true?
It is. But once again, there's nuances to that too. You should do your own work first. Let's say you have a 568 credit score. You need a 640 to qualify for that FHA loan. And you go add your mother. Your mother allows you to be put on their healthy credit. You don't want to be on their messy credit. You're on their healthy credit on a particular card, and that's added to your account. I've seen folks go from a 568, let's say, to a 598 with that scenario. We still not house ready. You get to do your own work first.
Okay.
Okay. We had I have a person who did their work, came from bankruptcy, from the 500s to the 700s, did all the work for a couple of months, and then kind of exhausted everything that they could do on their own, everything that we advised, and then was added onto their fiance's 1984 $2,000 Daisy's Penny card from way back. Score went from a 710, I think, to a 790. That's the benefit of doing your work first and then complementing it with that credit. Yeah. But an authorized user on its own is normally not going to do that on top of your mess.
Right. You can't put healthy on top of mess.
It's not doing all of that because you have some things at the bottom that are still going to, bring that down. You're going to elevate better. So it's not that it's not helpful. It's just you still have work to do.
Right. Okay. Got it. Hear that? Don't go out and just try and get on everybody's card if you haven't dealt with your mess. Okay, so we talked about whether or not, you said don't pay it off, keep it within this range. So if I have a credit card, let's say, American Express, certain American Express, you have to pay off every single month. So should I be paying off my credit cards every single month? Should I try and look and see when the statement balance is reported to the credit bureau and pay it off on the 18th if it's reported on the 19th? Should I pay it off every month? Should I keep a little balance on it every single month? What's the suggestion there?
So there's I'm gonna be very quick, succinct about the fact that there's tiers to this. The American Express, I'm paying the whole balance off because it's a charge card and that's what you're supposed to do conversation is normally not a credit building conversation. Nobody with a 500 and nothing is getting an Amex. That's not the tier that they're starting on, so it's not really an applicable conversation, right? So we're talking about when you're starting with your credit, you're starting with Credit One, First Progress, Capital One, maybe a Starter Discover, or maybe a secured card. So those cards aren't charge cards. They are credit cards, and they don't require you to pay them off. Right. So that just takes the Amex way out of there. We having that conversation, you probably got an 8 something, 7 something anyway. So in that regard, you want to, and if your credit is less than like 15 or 7 years-ish, right below that range, you're rebuilding or restarting, that's when you want to do the 1 to 10%. Okay. My father's credit is 34 years old. He's, got an 8 something. He can pay everything off if he wants to, because they've seen him swag through it all this time, and they realize he knows how to use it. But if you're rebuilding or maintaining something healthy in this moment, and you're still proving yourself under 7 years, then you need to keep that 1 to 10%. You could be losing like 20 points for having it at 0.
Really?
On a credit card, yeah. If your credit's young.
Okay.
Because you're not really exercising that you know how to use it if you're not using it.
Right.
You're not saying I'm responsible, you're just saying I ain't driving nowhere. You're not saying I'm a responsible driver. You're just saying I just parked the car in the driveway. Right? So you need to go outside and drive the car a little bit and come home safe, and you're like, oh, good job. Drive, use a little bit of credit, pay a little credit off. So that they can see how you handle actually spending on the card, at SeaWorld.
Right, exactly. All right, that's good to know. So I am applying for, let's say it's not a home, even though we're talking about home ownership. Let's say I'm applying for a car, or I'm applying for a credit card to improve my credit score. I heard that you don't want a lot of inquiries on your credit profile either. So should I apply for a lot at one time to attempt to not have the inquiries shown? Or should I be more strategic to just choose who I want to make the inquiry on my credit report?
Definitely the latter. There is no such possibility as your inquiries, unless they're soft, not showing up on your credit. Like legally, they have to go on your credit. So if you look at the Fair Credit Reporting Act, they have to go. If you inquire, they have to go on there. If you do the little soft inquiry where they're not going all in depth, and those things you get in the mail, those are soft inquiries. They didn't go all the way in. Or like I just got a Peloton and they did a soft inquiry that didn't show up on my, they just kind of get an overview. But if you provided your social and it went in, that person has to report the house, the car, the Verizon, the Chase card. It has to go on your credit report. So there's no such thing. So what you're talking about is called the shop around period.
Okay.
And for mortgages, if you are shopping for a mortgage and you go to multiple lenders in a short period of time, the lender will look at that when they're qualifying you as shopping around and not treat it as a detriment, like you were just out trying to get new credit and they're looking at you like, why are you paying? Why are you getting so many credit cards? And why your money short? Your credit is telling a story. And when you do all those inquiries, it looks like you're at one time and you get those new accounts. It's not the inquiries really, it's the new accounts. So if you're getting a lot of new accounts, you're opening yourself up to more liabilities and more debt before you get the car or before you get the house. And that's the message you're sending to the creditor. So that's the first thing. So doing them all at one time is not going to have them not be there. And you need to be really careful when you're purchasing a car that you go in and they push the button one time and they broker it out, and then you have like 20 inquiries on your credit in one day. 20, I've seen 20. The worst I've seen, I counted them, was 24.
I've seen that happen too.
Yeah, it's terrible.
They've gone to a dealership and the dealership is like, well, we're trying to see who's going to take your, who wants to give you the loan. Well, you didn't tell me that you were sending it to 9 to 10 to 20 different banks.
Right.
And now I have 20 inquiries on my credit report.
Right. So for if say you're buying a vehicle, I would go to your bank. I went to Navy Federal. I got one inquiry. They approved me for a particular amount, and then I went shopping 8 different places if I wanted to, as opposed to the opposite and apply at Toyota, apply here and apply there. And plus it's more confidence to just know this is how much I can afford. So that's the first tip I would give for that. And then if you're home purchasing, any type of, if you're going to do inquiries, do them very close together or just find you a good lender in the first place.
What's very close?
I advise, because there's how you should do it and how I realize is a better tip. I advise within a week.
A week. That's all you got?
I say that because I do a lot of home buyers workshops, and I've just asked. And some lenders tell me 45 days. And I had others tell me 30 days. And this is over years' time. And I've had some tell me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, you know, you don't want to be double dutching, you know, all out, in and out of what the possibilities are. Just get it done in a week. Go ask everybody, hit everybody up in a week. But I've heard from one lender, 45 days. They don't care if they get, if they see them multiple home inquiry loans. And I've heard from another, they said 30, and I've heard from others 2 weeks. So I just tell all my clients, hit it up fast. Don't spread it out. Don't do it now and in December and think they're gonna mush together.
But those inquiries are reducing my credit score.
So inquiries are about 3 to 5 points. They're really not a lot. They're really not.
If I had a 583, I mean, well, a 623.
Right.
I go 619.
The goal is not to be sliding into the lender's office with like 3 points to spare, but you're right. It could be an issue, but people think, they come to me and they come to our company and they're like, my inquiries are killing my credit. And I'm like, other stuff is killing your credit and the new accounts kill your credit. So if you just have an inquiry 3 to 5 points, you put a whole new car on there, your credit score may drop 20 points.
Right.
You, you know, get a house, your score is going to drop first, and then after you pay, it's going to come back after they see, okay, she can handle the car payment.
Right. All right. So there are a lot of, last question, there are a lot of credit repair people, right? It's a lot of, and no, you know, no judgment to you. Sensitive. But I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of Instagram credit repair people. There are a lot of credit repair people who just promote things that they can do. So of course people can come to you, but what are some things that makes you different than somebody that they see on Instagram that's showing that if you, like, what's a red flag that you're like, listen, I mean,
yes,
you know, they're like, come to me, your collections, you know, collections will be taken off automatically within 2 months. Like, what? And it sounds good, right, to the consumer if I don't know any different, but we also don't want you to get got if, you know.
Exactly.
So
what's
the difference, and are you in all 50 states, and how does that work? So
how do we, how does one find a reputable credit repair company? If it's not us, okay? Because I was saying from the heart, we're loving, connected, we're gonna hold you accountable, you need the coaching, the whole package, right? But actually, you can do it yourself. A lot of people come to us, they don't have the time, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the information, they need the accountability. I created a new program called the Coaching Only Program, because some people don't need any other service than just for our coaches to hold them accountable to do what they said they were gonna do, okay? So that's just the preface of that. But in general, a couple things. No one should be promising that they can get anything off your credit. That is unethical. It's not a real thing that anybody can promise to get anything off your credit. That's just, if they say that, run. Your credit repair fees or credit improvement fees should be cyclical and cancelable. If someone's saying $2,000 up front and I guarantee this and I'm gonna get everything off your credit, run. Okay, they need to provide a service first, and then they need to charge you an installment so you can cancel as the work's being done. Payments happening, work happening iteratively. Okay, so it should just be a red flag off the break. I mean, it sounds too good to be true, right? You're gonna give me $2,000, you're gonna have a 700 credit score. Really quickly, I had a client come, very vulnerable person, and she was told that in 30 days for $1,400, she could get her credit cleaned up. She was in the 400s, and that she would be approved for a loan within 40 days. First of all, that's not even a credit person's thing to tell them that they could be approved for a loan in 40 days coming from a 400 and a yada, 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 yada. And when I looked at her profile, I was like, no. And she kept wanting me to tell her and guarantee what that person had said. And I said, first, I don't suggest you do that. And second, I don't suggest you do us, because your expectations don't match reality and what's possible. And I believe in all the possibilities and dreams. But that right there is not what's going down. We're going to be real about it.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing, is to no guarantees about stuff off your credit. Payments should be iterative, and there should be, one of the things that we do that not a lot of people do is every 40 days you meet with us for 15 minutes to go over what worked, what didn't work, and what's next. The people that do that usually win bigger than the people who like don't show up for their meetings and they're just like, I'm going to go lose credit weight and show up 2 days before the closing and, before the application and be like, is it ready?
Right.
Like, those people aren't winning.
And so can I come back from your experience? I know I said last question, but really last question. From your experience, if I've just filed bankruptcy, what is a realistic timeline for me to repair my credit in order to purchase a home?
So in general, and I'm going to say a little bit of lender speak that, people can validate, and that timeline is a lender question relative to when it was discharged. In general, it's normally 2 years.
Okay.
So my suggestion from a credit expert perspective is to work on cleaning up the things that aren't the bankruptcy, such that when the bankruptcy is discharged, your clock starts, you're ready to go. So say for instance, you've got other things you need to get off your credit or attempt to get off your credit and other credit you need to build, you can do that while this thing is waiting out its time.
Okay.
All right. You don't want to wait for the bankruptcy period to end 2 years and then say, let me start working on my credit. A lot of times too, when you have a bankruptcy, I've seen people come to us with bankruptcies in the 600s and stuff because they ain't got nothing.
Right.
Everything is going.
Right.
The exception to that would be a 13. So if you have a Chapter 13, vice a 7 or 11, which is normally called a wage earner, we don't usually start with people until that's complete because we need to build credit, and sometimes our solutions may be to build certain types of credit. Well, a Chapter 13, you can keep sliding stuff in it while it's open. Oh, hey, let me grab this and put this in here. Let me grab, So what creditor wants to offer you credit when you can just run them up and slide them into 13? So that's the logic around it, and why if you have a 13, or even on another note, like a foreclosure that's pending or stuff like that, we're like kind of clean that up first before you come so that you're not unhappy with the results.
Okay. All right, so there you have it. Credit 101 with Querin, and if you all need to contact her, her information will be posted below as well for you to reach out to her. As you can see, she is loving and caring and is going to hold you accountable, and that's what we all need. So I hope you all were able to get some information from this week of 12 weeks of home ownership, and I hope you all have a great day. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.